This is the screen you're going to see when you first log into Ava. Most of what happens is going to happen in what I call the opportunity boxes. These right here are your opportunity boxes. So when you get a new lead into the practice, it gets put into the practice management system, and then boom, it shows up right here. Some of those new leads are going to schedule appointments, which is fantastic. That's what you want them to do. That's the next step in their journey. Some of those, however, are not going to show up to their appointments. That's what goes in the no-show box. These are new patient no-shows. Some of the ones who schedule appointments are going to come in, but they're not yet going to be ready for treatment. That's what falls into your recall box or your observation box. And then some are going to come in and be ready for treatment, but for whatever reason they decided not to. That's what's going to fall into your pending box. And what's interesting is all of these are opportunities. Every one of these boxes is an opportunity for the practice, but it's an opportunity that requires follow-up, and that is what Ava is going to do next. So all you do is you simply take whatever those are, and you're going to say, okay, I want to put them in a follow-up. We click auto, and then I choose, okay, what follow-up do I want them in, and who do I want it to come from, and I hit submit, and that's it. Ava takes care of the rest. Ava is going to put them in that follow-up, and it's going to continue on for however long. Now, it could be a 3-week follow-up. It could be a 10-week follow-up. Could be a 16-week follow-up like the pending sequence is. And interestingly, you can make the follow-ups whatever you want. Now, as soon as they go into a follow-up, they're going to drop from one of these opportunity buckets up here down into Ava's buckets down here. Now, this tells you what Ava is actually doing. So the ones in red down here are telling you that, you know what, Ava's finished with those patients, or it has stopped for some reason. Now, like you see this little bell right here, that tells us that DJ Janice right here has responded to the message that you sent to them. And so you want to respond back, obviously. If it's a blue check mark, that means that this sequence is completed. They didn't respond. They didn't schedule an appointment. We need to do something with this person. So with Sarah, we need to decide, do we start another sequence? Do we put them in something different? Do we just let them go for a while? And again, you have all kinds of options over here that I'm not going to go into the details of right now, but those are all the things that you can do with Ava. So that's how each of these works. And in what's happening here in each step is that you're wanting to get them to move to whatever the next step is. If it's a new lead, you want them to schedule an appointment. That's what a win is. If it's a no-show, you want them to reschedule their appointment. That's what a win is here. If they're a pending, you want them to schedule their start appointment. That's what a win is here. So all along the way, Ava is helping them move through the process of eventually getting to the start. And that's just the beginning of what Ava can do for you. These are the most essential components of what Ava has to offer. Now, when we think about how do we generate new leads come in a variety of ways, right? Now, most people are spending money to generate leads. They're doing that through ads. They're doing it through a website. They're doing it through some way of being able to let people know, hey, we're here, right? Making other people aware. And we have different options. So as you make people aware, for example, you may want to have a link on your website for the virtual consult. That just gives people an opportunity to interact with you. And when they do so, it comes into here. And when it comes in with the photos that you've asked them to take. And then again, you can go right into an auto sequence, a set reminder. If you want to just do a two-way communication with this individual, you can do that as well. Ava records all of the information, so you always have the information available to you right in front of you at any time. So the virtual consult is a great way to engage people, and actually maybe it's a first step for you in your practice. You can decide how to use it. Or maybe you just want people to go ahead and schedule their appointment. Now, if you use Cloud9, that can be an actual scheduled appointment that comes right into your Cloud9 management system. So all you do is you take Ava's link, and from Ava's link, people are able to schedule an appointment. And while this may seem overwhelming to you at the moment, going through this process is really quite simple, quite direct, and quite straightforward. So to show you how simple it is to adjust one of these sequences that I've been talking about that you're going to put Ava into, all we do is we go to the settings, go over here to Ava's communication, and in Ava's communication, you're going to see that we have Ava's follow-ups and Ava's lead-ups. This means following up after an appointment. This means leading up to an appointment. So in Ava's follow-up, we have the same opportunity buckets that we talked about before. So we have new lead, no-show, recall, pending. And what's interesting is that you can create any types of sequences you want and as many as you want. Now, we do have a preloaded default sequence, and you're more than welcome to use it. If you want to add to it or subtract from it, you can do that as well. Or you can create a brand new one. So there's all kinds of opportunity for you in new lead, also in no-show, also in recall and pending. And they all work pretty much the same way. Over here, you have the status types that you created for your practice. And all you're doing is letting Ava know that if somebody has this status, offer them these opportunities. It doesn't mean that Ava's automatically throwing everyone with that status into that sequence. It means that it's giving somebody on your team or somebody that you have hired to start that sequence for that individual given these parameters. And again, you have that for no-shows, new patient no-shows, you have it for recalls, you have it for pending patients. Now we also have a miscellaneous that is far more flexible, and you can use the miscellaneous bucket for a variety of different things that may or may not be, appropriate in these boxes. For example, I have one of my private coaching clients that uses this to do new patient starts. So when somebody starts braces, there's a particular sequence that they want to go out for braces patients. If somebody starts aligners, there's a different sequence they want to go out to aligners that helps them to adjust to that first week of treatment. So you can use each of these in a variety of ways. Now you also have the new patient thank you, which goes out after each new patient visit if you have it turned on. And it's just a simple thank you that automatically goes out to each individual new patient that you have. And the first message in this sequence, and again, you can do as many sequences here as you want and different ones if you wish to, but the first message in this particular sequence also encourages them to do the new patient survey. And the new patient survey has its own prompt that you can choose to use or not. And send out afterwards to get them to prompt them to do the new patient surveys. So you have a variety of different follow-up types of things that you can do inside of Ava. And then you also have lead-up things that you can do inside of Ava. The appointment reminders, you can use Ava to do all of your appointment reminders. What's cool though, is that you can do those appointment reminders in such a way where you can build a variety of different sequences for your appointment reminders. So not every single appointment has to get the same type of appointment reminder. You can get a different appointment reminder for different types of appointments. So if you do, like, say, a retainer check and you want to remind them to bring in a retainer, you can do an appointment reminder type for that, and then just associate that appointment type to that particular thing, and Ava will take care of that automatically for you. I also want to introduce you to the new patient welcome sequence, which is what we found in the data is that it will, if you use the new patient welcome sequence and do it with consistency with all of your new patients scheduled, which, by the way, this is an auto sequence, meaning that once you turn it on, there's nothing your team has to do. Ava will recognize the particular patient status and put them automatically into this based upon when their appointment is. And what we found is that if you use the new patient welcome sequence, 3 interesting things happen. Number 1, people show up more for their new patient appointments. Okay, that's a big one because those missed appointments are costly. So people show up more for their new patient appointments. Also, what happens is the number of cancellations tends to increase with a correlating number of no-shows that decrease, which is the exact opposite of just using an appointment reminder. So for example, let's say there are 10 no-shows and cancellations in a particular month. You had 60 scheduled, 50 people show up. So that means you have X number of no-shows and X number of cancellations. So if you had previously, and again, our data inside of Ava shows us this, if you had those from those list of 10 people that didn't show up, 2 who were cancellations and 8 that were no-shows, once you use the welcome sequence, the 8 that were no-shows become 2 no-shows, and the 2 that were cancellations become the 8 that are cancellations. So those 2 just flip-flop. Now, why is that important? Because anybody who's ever worked in a practice understands that cancellations are far easier to reschedule than are no-shows. So interesting, you find a lot of interesting value that comes in with this lead-up sequence called the new patient welcome sequence, as well as the appointment reminders. And then again, you're welcome to use our new patient forms. And what do we know about that? Well, if people complete their forms, the more steps they take, the more likely they are to actually show up for that first appointment. And incidentally, if they engage with the welcome sequence and they engage with the new patient forms, our data also shows that they have a correlating higher start rate. So that's what happens in Ava's communication, so that when you come back here and you actually put somebody in a sequence, that's what's happening with them as they go through that sequenced process. So those are the basics. That's what in or what is inside of Ava. There's so very much more, like the blast tools, the legacy blast tools for all of your past pending patients, and then the opportunity blast tool, which that's what I call it. It's called the new blast tool, but the opportunity blast tool, which really does allow you to communicate at least via text or email with anybody within your practice management system that you want to. You see, because all of your patients, all of the people that are in your practice management system are available now in Ava. All you need to do is type in a name, and if that name happens to be in your practice management system, it's going to show up right here. And you can access that patient's file. It's going to tell you what their current treatment status is, going to tell you when their last visit was, what location they're actually entered into, what appointments they have coming up. If you've sent a slider to them, it tells you that right here. If you want to create a new slider to send to them, you can do that here. You can use the language that's appropriate for them. And then if you want to see their messaging history, then you just click on messaging and it's going to take you right to their messaging history. So just to quickly show you what this looks like. When somebody has a message history, it's going to look like this. So you're going to see all of the outbound sent from the practice, all of the inbound sent from the individual that you're engaging with here. And again, what we know is the higher the level of engagement we have here, the more likely they are to actually take that next step in your practice that you're wanting them to take. Also from this screen, you can engage in two-way communication if you want to. So you can use all of the same things here to work with Ava. And if you want to just quickly send them a note, all you have to do is click right here and construct your note. That's it. It's that simple. So Ava has a lot of opportunity, a lot of flexibility, and a lot of ways for you to be able to make the most of your practice. Again, there's so much more in here. You may want to use the new patient scheduler. You may want to use the virtual consult. You may want to use the new patient tracker, just so that you can tell on any single day, all right, how many new patient consults did we do in the last 14 days? How many are coming up over the next week? And then how many are coming up the next 8 to 30 days beyond that. That's what the new patient tracker tells you, and so much more. There's a ton in the tracker. You may want to use the case presentation tool, which allows you, your team, to be able to create a slider specifically for that individual, which you can then email home directly outside of Ava. So you don't have to use the practice management system if your PMS has that. You can use Ava to do that, and it's a very, very clean process. You have a template opportunity in here to build out whatever types of templates you wish to use, which also can be very helpful to your practice. So I'm going to stop there and just encourage you. This is really enough information for you to hire Ava. I would encourage you to do so. It's a no-risk proposition to you and a very high value once your practice has a hold of it. Thank you.